Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you. It's this time 2-week roundup, which we do every 2 weeks, as you know. Unless you're new to the channel, then you probably wouldn't know. But we'll have a look at all the games reviewed over this last 2-week section. There's been a few to squeeze in this time, so let's push along. Now before we come to the top 6, let's have a look at some of the other satellite sort of videos we've been doing. I looked at a homebrew this time by a subscriber to the channel called Gary James, a game called Killer Bees. Haven't reviewed that many homebrew games so far, but I thought I'd review a few as people suggested them. By Gary James on the ZX Spectrum 48K. Killer Bees was written in 2014 and based on a game on the G7000 Odyssey or video pack thing, which originally came out in 1978. Based on a game from 1983 by Bob Harris, if I remember that correctly. But let's get to it. The game is pretty good. You control a swarm of bees, white dots on the screen, and you must fly around and sting all the aliens and people to death without being killed by other swarms that come on. You get bonus points for every bee that survives, because contact with other swarms kills a percentage of your bees, and points awarded determined on, well, how many's left over really. Quite a good game. Wasn't coded right up from the ground. I think a program was used to do this one, but it's good. I quite like this one, so a good game by Gary James, so thanks to him. We started going through the Mega Drive Ultimate Collection, the SEGA Mega Drive on the PlayStation 3. Have a look at a couple of classic games. Well, huge games really when it comes to retro gaming, but I never owned a Mega Drive. We're only looking at them because they come on this PS3 disc. We won't dwell on them too much, but the first one was Streets of Rage. These games come out as a package in 2009. Can't quite remember how these when these were originally released. So Streets of Rage is a 2D scrolling platformer. There's 2 other sequels to this, 2 and 3, which we'll come to in the following weeks. Now I was unaware with this collection that you can do it to full screen, so the first few videos in this series will be part screen with a board around it, but I haven't tried it yet, but you can enlarge them to a full screen. But really good game this. I can recommend Streets of Rage. The other one is another Leviathan from the arcades. It's Golden Axe. Again, it's a fighting game. You can select any one of 3 people to control. A barbarian, an Amazonian woman, or some dwarf with a huge big axe. Each of them have got some sort of thing to grind against Death Adder. He's a big villain that's taken over the place and kidnapped one of their relatives or killed them or so forth. You must have to go from one stage to another until eventually you kill Death Adder in the final screens. I reviewed this game also on the Commodore Amiga, the ZX Spectrum, and the Game Boy Advance. That's it. I'm getting forgetful in my old age. So we'll be doing those once a week, unless I got suddenly more time on my hands, which is extremely unlikely. So yeah, the next couple will probably be small screen again, then we'll go full screen. Now I'm almost there in the top 6, but let's have a look at the pinball games. On the Pinball Arcade, a game called CENTIGRADE 37, released by Pinball Arcade in, well, Fastlight Studios in 2017. CENTIGRADE 37 is the same as Body Temperature. Quite an old table this, based on by Gottlieb from 1977. Quite basic artwork. It's in a time where there were 5 balls to the pinball instead of the more traditional 3 nowadays. Quite tricky. The rule sheet's quite basic. You can get into this quite quickly. And the second one, which is this game, this table is absolutely awesome. I'm going to come to now. We've already reviewed one Doctor Who table in Pinball Arcade Season 6. It's based on Doctor Who, the 6 or 7 Doctors from 1992. This is a modern day redress of it. It's a Doctor Who Master of Time. Don't think it was a real table, but I might be wrong. Peter Capaldi is the most recent Doctor at time of recording. It's based around him and some of the other Doctors. Great sound bites in this game, particularly from Michelle Gomez, who plays Missy in Doctor Who. She's a female incarnation of the dreaded Master. In the original Doctor Who table, you can control any one of the first 7 Doctors. In this, you control, well, select the mode, any one of the aliens, which could be Daleks, Cybermen, Sontarans, and Weeping what's her names? I've forgotten, but Anyway, all the top villains are there. A really good game, really good atmospheric game. If Farsight go in a direction to make individual tables, which I'm basing it if they could have been a real table, there's some really awesome things to come. Okay, right, now, here we go. I've got there eventually. In 6th place, on the ZX Spectrum, it's, no, actually, I've jumped too far forward. What didn't make 6th place is on the Spectrum still, bear with me, folks. 7th place is Dan Dare 2, MEKON'S Revenge by Virgin in 1988. Couldn't place this in the top 6 because it's not very good. I really like the original Dan Dare game. Dan Dare Pilot of the Future, which we reviewed a few weeks ago, and I think it might have come #1 spot in the top 6, summing up. This was a huge disappointment. I was thinking more of the same, more platform running and jumping and climbing, but in this one, you can either select to be Dan Dare or the MEKON. You drive around a sort of like a hover scooter, various levels. You must disable terminals and rescue people at various bits, but destroy beta terminals, really. Now, what's really bad about this game is there's a bit of inertia with the bike. You've got similar people flying around trying to help you, but they're the same colour as you, and it's quite easy to lose sight of where you are, and it's just all round poor. It looks good, but it plays terrible. Dan Dare 2, MEKON'S Revenge, and he sure got the revenge on me. We'll be going to Dan Dare 3, probably next week or the week after. Now, hopefully, that's an improvement. People have told me that that's the best one in the trilogy. Fingers crossed that is the case. Right, now, we really are going to come to the top 6 this time. In 6th place, as I might have leaked, is Cluedo on the ZX Spectrum 48K, published by Leisure Genius in 1985, and based on the popular board game by Waddingtons. Come out in the US, the board game and the game, well, I'm not sure the game did, but as Clue, not Cluedo. I don't know if the dough made things confusing. But if you're unfamiliar with Cluedo, it's a turn-based ball game where you throw the dice, and by going in different rooms, you can see you get different information about weapons and suspects, cause in this mansion you must find out who did the murder and with what weapon. It's a game of deduction, really. Now, what I like about... I've got it in 6th place, so it's not great. It was never going to be that exciting game, but there's music for each character playing. It asks you quite nicely if you've got a black and white TV, first of all, because yes, back in the day there was black and white TVs available. It's alright. Professor Plum accused himself of doing the murder in that, who was wrong, so I don't know what's going on there. But check out that one, Cluedo. In 5th place, again on the ZX Spectrum, 3D Starfighter by Codemasters in 1988. This is a space game which really goes on a bit too long. Stage based, must select different planets to go to, destroy all the aliens in your path. There's a shield you can activate to help you. It's just a rather mundane shooter. It's very cleverly coded. I prefer a very similar sounding game, 3D Starfighter, and its sequel to a degree better than this one. It's okay, but not great, and the stages go on and on and on and on and on and on. Some kids would have liked this if it's one of the few games I had back in the day, because it can keep him occupied for quite a while, but the aliens to shoot aren't really that varied. The missions are pretty much the same. Every so often you go to hyperspace, but when you come out of hyperspace, you're pretty much playing the same game. It would have been better of a different variety of games like 3D Starfighter, but this did not have it. And in 4th place was, on the Game Boy Advance, Spyro Season of Ice, published by Universal Interactive in 2001. Possibly could have had this a bit higher, but I wasn't really into Spyro much as a kid. It's a 3D isometric game. Mainly known for its work on the PlayStation 1, but there's a few games on the Game Boy Advance too. You control this purple dragon called Spyro, who must rescue fairies, collect coinage, unlock different levels, and generally kill all the Rhinoc people who are running amok. It's quite pretty, the sound's quite good, but yeah, there's something about it that doesn't really grip me. It's clever on the Game Boy Advance, nice bright colours. If you played it as a kid, you probably would have liked it quite well. So, in 6th place on the ZX Spectrum 48K is Cluedo by Leisure Genius in 1985. In 5th place is 3D Starfighter, again on the Spectrum by Codemasters in 1988. And in 4th place, Spyro Season of Ice on the Game Boy Advance, published by Universal Interactive in 2001. Before we come to the top 3, we've reviewed another PlayStation 4 game in this 2-week roundup. PlayStation 4 games don't seem to be as popular in terms of comments and views than the rest of it, but that's how I would expect really, because this is mainly a retro gaming channel, and over the few years it's been going, it's attracted a retro crowd. But I like looking at the modern day games so we can see where we're going, how it compares. This one was Mortal Kombat XL, and that was published by Warner Brothers Games in 2016, so very, very recent at the time of recording at least. It's a very, very gory fighting game, so not like Tekken. There's blood and guts everywhere, but as I reminded people in the video, it is only a game. Don't get corrupted. It's a bit like cartoon violence, like, well, it's a bit beyond cartoon violence really, like by Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons, so don't take it too seriously. I controlled Jason Voorhees in this, and we run amok really. Fights with Leatherface was one of the highlights. He's a character from the Chainsaw Massacre. I might go back to it at some point, because you can control the Queen Alien from the film Aliens and Predator. These are all DLCs, but with Mortal Kombat XL, which came out I think a year after Mortal Kombat X, it's the X game with the DLCs already in there to save you the bother. I've liked every PlayStation 4 game I've reviewed so far. A bit more involved than all the retro games. Sometimes you have to do a big download when you load it up, but there you go. And let's have top 3 then. Top 3, and then we're there. In third place, on the Z Spectrum 48K, a Bobby Bearing by The Edge in 1986. No, not The Edge out of U2. If you disagree with any of these orders, then put your order below, because no doubt you'll have a different order to me, and you'll think, why has Nick put that one there? But Bobby Bearing, in the sort of like style of Spin Dizzy, but not quite as good. You control a ball bearing round a 3D maze, and you must find your other ball bearing brothers and lead them back home, because they've got lost, they've wandered off, been corrupted by an evil cousin or something like that. A little bit bland, it could be said, but I didn't mind it. It won't be a go-to game for me, but graphically it's okay, it's coded well. Lots of the map seem to repeat but a different colour, makes it a bit difficult to see where you're going. But a map would be really advantageous with a Bobby Bearing. If you had it back in the day, you probably would have liked it. 1986. There's a few other Marble games. I would prefer Marble Madness. Spin Dizzy, as I already mentioned, although it was a bit annoying, you can keep going off the map in Spin Dizzy, but Bobby Bearing is another one, and it's okay, not bad. And in second place, it's a Commodore Amiga lockout this time. In second place on the Commodore Amiga is T2, the arcade game by Virgin in 1993. In the style of Operation Wolf, if you're familiar with that game from the arcades, it's a shooter where you must shoot all the aliens from stage to stage, and that's pretty much it really. It tries to follow the storyline of Terminator 2, and it does very, very loosely, although there's a few more Terminators that I remember from the film, but it's okay. It repeats itself a little bit. The music is quite good. If you're into shooters, then this is a good one. It's screaming out to have sort of like a light gun or something, but I was on the mouse, you know, when you scroll it around like a cursor and just fire. Could get old quite quickly. I think I played it with a cheat mode on in the end so I can get any distance, but it's not too bad. It's a lot better than the other Terminator 2 game I reviewed a while back, both on the Spectrum and the Commodore Amiga, so you've got a choice of Terminator games. Neither of them are sensational, but this one is better than the first one, T2, the arcade game. And in first place this time round, it was a recommendation, this game. It's a motorbikes game. RVF Honda on the Amiga, published by Microstyle in 1990. The same sort of publishing house that did Stunt Car Racer, one of my all-time greats. But it's nothing like Stunt Car Racer. You say it's in the genre of Super Hang-On, but it's not quite as arcadey as that. I've been told to review another game called Prime Mover, I think that's by Psygnosis, that one, another biking game. It's interesting to see how these all compare together. But RVF Honda, I didn't mind that game, it was quite good. You have to do your own gears, so there's no auto gears function, which would have made it a little bit easier. I got better as the review went on. Fantastic engine sounds on this, best of any so far motorbiking game I reviewed retro-wise. Controls really well, different colour opponents, so it doesn't feel like you're always against the same biker. Yeah, really good and worthy of first place, I would say. RVF Honda, check that one out. So then, rounding up the top 3 this time round. In third place, Bobby Bearing on the ZX Spectrum by the Edge in 1986. Second place on the Amiga, T2 the arcade game by Virgin from 1993. And top of the shop, numero uno, number 1, is on the Amiga, RVF Honda by Microstyle in 1990. Hooray! Now, thank you for watching the videos, as always, especially those people that comment, but people that watch as well, that's fantastic, gets the volume up. If you can like the videos, if you're watching them, that'll help me a great deal. So, as long as the channel keeps going and I'm feeling good, then more videos will follow. One a day at the moment, we'll try and keep that up. So, thanks again, and till next time, take great care of yourself, and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.